It's unfolding in real time, and there's no spinning it anymore. The fallout is out in the open for everyone to see. The cracks aren't subtle, and the pressure isn't temporary, it's overwhelming. Starmer isn't just under strain, he looks cornered, struggling to steady the ground beneath him. In a move that rattled Westminster and echoed across Brussels, Nigel Farage has stormed back onto the political battlefield, seizing the spotlight with force, and making it clear that the fight is far from over.
Mr. Speaker, to date so far this year, 10,000 young, undocumented males have illegally crossed the English Channel into our country, a 40% increase on this time last year, many coming from cultures that are somewhat alien to ours. They are being housed at a cost of many billions of pounds a year in hotels and increasingly in private rented homes. The effect on communities is one of a sense of deep unfairness, actually bordering on resentment. In Runcorn alone, there are 750 of these young men. Just in one
Calm
Is it not time to admit
maybe you can pay for it
that Smash the Gangs was nothing more than an election slogan and not a policy? And isn't it time to declare a national emergency and to act accordingly?
Just days before a major EU summit in London, the entire script was torn up. A carefully crafted understanding between Keir Starmer and Brussels suddenly veered off course, and what was meant to be a smooth diplomatic moment became a political flashpoint. But that was only the opening move. Nigel Farage escalated the drama by securing a private audience with the King, transforming the situation from routine statecraft into a high-pressure power contest unfolding behind closed doors. As Starmer prepared for a polished sit-down with Ursula von der Leyen and senior EU officials, critics argued that the direction of travel signaled a quiet shift in Britain's post-Brexit footing and a renewed debate over sovereignty. Farage's re-emergence ripped away the calm facade, casting the proposed agreement as the most consequential post-exit realignment yet. The backlash is building, public sentiment is sharpening, and this is no ordinary round of diplomacy. It's a defining clash over the country's path forward, and Farage has just appended the board.
I will not be lectured to by Sir Keir Starmer. Starmer, who chose to weigh in against me over the weekend. This is the same Starmer that backed Corbyn, a man that wanted us to leave NATO. So no thank you. This the same Starmer that wants to reopen the inquiries that go back 50 years against British soldiers in Northern Ireland. And this the Starmer, along with David Lammy, who wants us to join the European Defence Union. He wants us to get closer with the European Union in terms of our military strategy, which would be a disaster as far as America and NATO are concerned. So I'll take no lectures from any of them.
According to Nigel Farage, Keir Starmer insists the summit is strictly about security and defence, but critics argue the fine print tells a different story, one that edges Britain closer to Brussels' orbit. At the heart of the dispute is a proposal that could grant EU-aligned judges authority over matters that intersect with British law, reviving the influence of the European Court of Justice under the banner of practical cooperation. Supporters call it realism, opponents call it retreat. The friction doesn't end there. A proposed youth mobility scheme has ignited another fierce debate, with detractors warning it resembles free movement through a side entrance, allowing young EU nationals to live, work, and study in the UK with broad access and limited barriers. What's being presented as pragmatic partnership is, to many, a fundamental question about sovereignty, control, and the direction of the country's future.
Christopher, fantastic. What's going on then?
Patrick, hiya. Welcome to Berlin. The Brandenburg Gate is behind me. Sir Keir Starmer is staying here. He's our Prime Minister. He meets with Olaf Scholz tomorrow. The idea here is to 6 months to work out a deal, a treaty with Germany, covering all sorts of areas to boost trade, deepen defence, security, increase action on illegal migration and the like. He wants this to be a model of other deals with other EU countries as we go forward under this Labour government. The PM thinks privately that it's not reversing Brexit, that other treaties are done all the time. We've been trading with our friends and neighbours on the continent for hundreds of years, and here's a case of strengthening those bonds. But there's no question that tomorrow morning, I think a lot of maybe Tory Brexiteers will be spitting out their cornflakes and dropping the marmalade, reading those headlines you read out just there, because there will be concern this is going to tie us closer and closer to the European Union, to make some wonder, well, what's the point of Brexit after all?
Well, no, indeed. And Christopher, just staying with you, I mean, some of the detail that it's quite limited at the moment, I suppose. But, we'll, as you've said, have a lot of Brexiteers spitting out their cornflakes and being very, very worried about it, and it's talking about a recalibration of our relationship with the European Union. And it covers, seemingly, quite a lot of ground. So it says he wants to turn a corner. Go on, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the news broke 4 minutes ago, Patrick. I mean, the detail there is detailed. It says here there'll be increased collaboration on market access, critical science, innovation and tech, clean energy, trade across.
In 2016, millions of Britons voted to change course, sending a clear message about borders and control. So critics now ask why that mandate feels blurred. They argue that while Keir Starmer frames his approach as practical cooperation in interviews with The Guardian, the direction of travel looks to some like a steady concession to Brussels. Concerns intensify over defence, with ministers signalling deeper UK participation in EU-linked military initiatives, raising questions about costs, priorities, and pressure on the armed forces. To opponents, sovereignty appears to be thinning, decision by decision. Just as Starmer seemed poised to present the summit as a diplomatic win, Nigel Farage surged back into the spotlight, amplified by momentum from Reform UK in the local elections. Positioning himself as a direct voice for disillusioned voters, he rejected compromise, countered media criticism head-on, forged strategic alliances, and even secured a private audience with the King, reshaping the narrative at a critical moment.
So the EU reset, I guess it really began last night. Keir Starmer heads off to Brussels for dinner with the other European leaders. The choice of location was fascinating. Palais d'Egmont, which is where they never have dinners there. They nearly always have them in the council building. Why did they choose that building? Well, there was symbolism here, because that is where Edward Heath went to sign the accession treaty in 1972. I think that was a bit of a game and an attempt to ever so slightly humiliate the British Prime Minister. We got a raft of conclusions, one of which was that we're going to deepen industrial collaboration. We're clearly going to get closer to EU rules. We may even allow the ECJ some oversight. But a lot of what was discussed last night will become clearer at a summit that's going to happen in this country in the middle of May. I guess that Sir Keir really is a rejoiner at heart. And I fear that we're going to sort of head a little bit closer towards that Brexit in name only. As long as he doesn't get too close, because if he does, it'll reduce our ability to be flexible with a...
While Keir Starmer focused on high-level talks with Brussels, Nigel Farage was reportedly engaged in discussions linked to the royal household, with palace insiders said to be uneasy about immigration policy and judicial oversight. Though the details remain confidential, sources suggest the meeting disrupted government momentum and triggered urgent recalculations behind closed doors. What once appeared to be a quiet recalibration toward the EU is now facing intense scrutiny across Europe, France pressing for expanded fishing access, Germany advocating deeper UK defence coordination, and Brussels encouraging regulatory alignment on food standards to smooth trade, moves critics frame as incremental concessions. Supporters call it strategic cooperation amid geopolitical strain. Opponents warn of gradual reintegration by stealth. At the same time, Reform UK gained ground in Stoke-on-Trent, where Luke Shenton secured victory in Bresham Central and Longport with 1,226 votes, ahead of Labour's Maggie Bradley on 449, tightening Labour's local hold and signalling voter frustration. Shenton pledged transparency and improved services, while Council leader Jane Ashworth acknowledged public dissatisfaction driven by austerity pressures and contentious policy choices. Under Farage's leadership, Reform's ascent reflects a widening appetite for disruption, and a political landscape shifting faster than many expected.
Well, no, indeed. And Christopher, just staying with you, I mean, some of the detail that we've been, I mean, it's quite limited at the moment, I suppose, but, you know, we'll, as you've said, have a lot of Brexiteers spitting out their cornflakes and being very, very worried about it, you know, and it's talking about a recalibration of our relationship with the European Union, and it covers, it seemingly, you know, quite a lot of ground. So it says he wants to turn a corner. Fine.
On that...
Go on, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the news broke 4 minutes ago, Patrick. I mean, the detail there is detailed. It says here there'll be increased collaboration on market access, critical science, innovation and tech, clean energy, trade across the North Sea, supply chain resilience, energy security and green transition, education, biodiversity and the environment. That is a full waterfront of most key areas you may want to talk about with another country. So Keir Starmer is here. He knows Olaf Scholz very well. I was there when they met on the last time on the margins of NATO, the NATO summit in Washington DC. A very warm embrace. We'll see them meet later on tomorrow. Earlier, Sir Keir Starmer was behind me at the Brandenburg Gate having a walkabout. I mean, he's clearly a person who we can do business with, and he clearly sees this deal with Germany as one to set the benchmark for other similar deals that I fully expect the UK to try and sign as we go forward through this 5-year period. What that means for Brexit, it will shake up the whole idea of what Brexit is for us as we go forward.
Yeah, exactly, and it's on that. Now, Christopher, at some point, I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter, does it now? Because there's a massive Labour majority, but at some point, will this have to be voted on in Parliament?
The victory in Stoke-on-Trent underscores how strongly messages of accountability and structural reform resonate with voters. Nigel Farage has long pushed for a shake-up of both local councils and national leadership, and this result reinforces that call with measurable impact. As momentum builds in communities across the country, Reform UK is positioning itself as a direct challenger to the established order, not just a protest voice but a competitive force. The spotlight now shifts to Labour. Will it confront the growing sense of voter disillusionment and adapt, or continue advancing the same case made since Keir Starmer entered office? The political temperature is rising, the fault lines are clearer than ever, and the next moves could redefine the landscape. So stay alert as this story continues to unfold.